99X. It's the Morning X. It's Barnes and Leslie. 99X presenting Fastball coming up at the City Winery. That's going to be Wednesday, April 17th. Thought it'd be a good time to catch up with Miles from Fastball. Hey, Miles.
Hi, how are you?
Doing great. How's it going?
Very good.
Miles, are you calling us from our favorite city, Austin?
Is it still your favorite?
Oh, man.
I mean, look, a lot's changed. I realize that because I used to go to South by Southwest for years, and now it's a little bit different South by, but still love the city.
It is. I mean, it is a great city. The people that have lived here a long time love to complain. I'm one of them.
Yeah,
but,
it's a thing.
It's a thing. It's a kind of what I like. What I enjoy is when people who've lived here for like 10 years complain, because I've lived here like most of my life.
That's true.
So they're like, I've been here since 2012, and they're like, oh, cry me a river. You know,
I went to college there at UT Austin, and I go back every year for football, and the city is, exploding, bursting at the seams. But one thing you can count on is really cool musical moments. And I want to ask you, stumbling around the drunken streets of Austin in 1989, I was a senior at UT. I walked into the Black Cat, which, is that still there on 6th Street?
Yeah. Oh, that was such a great bar.
I walked in, Stevie Ray Vaughan was playing, and there were about 4 people in the audience.
Wow.
And that's the kind of thing that happens in Austin. What's your Austin story?
I mean, I had a magical thing like that happen in Austin involving Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Really?
Oh, do tell.
Yeah, it was a crazy story. So me and a friend went to see U2 on the Joshua Tree tour, right? And so then after the show, we were like looking for something to do. And Antone's still exists, but it was in a different place.
Right.
So there's this really great blues bar called Antone's, and we were going, oh, well, Luann Barton is playing tonight. So we went down there to see her. We hear this guitar as we're waiting to go to pay and go in. And it's like, that's got to be Stevie Ray. That's got to be Stevie Ray. And we went in, and Stevie Ray Vaughan was indeed playing with Luann. And we couldn't believe it. And then we both looked at each other and said, you know what? You know who's going to show up here? U2's going to show up here.
Ooh.
Because you're right, they're done with work, and we're like, if they're staying in town, what do you think? They're going to know about this somehow. Sure enough, U2 rolls up, and the place and this is pre-cell phone, man. This is pre-internet. And
I just looked it up. That was 1987, November 22nd, 87.
That's right. There were like 8 people in the bar.
Wow.
And then U2 showed up, and like within 25, 30 minutes, the bar was just slam packed.
I was at that show at the Irwin Center. Do you remember when they brought that kid up to play guitar with U2?
I mean, that's really good shtick.
Yeah, it is good shtick.
They all do it. They all Springsteen, Green Day. That's like, I think you get something in the mail when you start playing stadiums. It's like a 101 of how to.
Little did we know that, Stevie Ray passed in 1990 in that horrible accident. So that was, we both saw him in those moments right before that. It's really eerie.
It's still an amazing town for music. Things are obviously less innocent than they were now, because the information is so immediate and quick, And it was really cool that back then you would just, like, as you said, stumble into situations.
Yeah.
You had no way of you had to find them for yourself, and then it was a lot harder for the information to get around. It took a much longer time.
So good to talk to you again, Miles. Fastball was such a part of the history of 99X. Do you remember the radio station at all?
Many times going in there. Yeah, I do. We went in, I feel like it was like our home away from home, because our manager, Russell Carter, still lives in Atlanta. And so he's not our manager anymore, but we still love him. And we were always playing Atlanta. And we still go to Atlanta a lot, the Atlanta area. It's kind of like Austin over there in the sense that you guys have a bunch of towns that are right next to Atlanta.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, we're playing Atlanta,
that's
basically.
True.
It's very much like Austin with trees. I mean, that's what I always tell people. It's like Austin with trees.
Yeah.
Well, the weird thing about Fastball, and I don't say weird in a bad way, is when you guys came on the scene, I mean, you had a couple iterations of bands and whatever, you landed on Fastball. And then, out the gate, early on, you sell 1 million albums in a few months. You become like the it guys in Austin. But what hasn't changed is your music and the signature sound, the aesthetic of your music, even up to your last album a few years ago. It's so good. What is it with that one album that went crazy? Why do you think that was? Because it's nothing different. Nothing's different about the sound.
Timing, there's just timing. In showbiz, timing there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
And something comes on at a certain time. And in movies, this happens all the time, where a movie comes just at the right time. It becomes this gigantic zeitgeist moment. But if that movie had come out at a different time, it wouldn't have landed in the same way.
Yeah.
It might have been it still might have been a hit, but it wouldn't have been the movie of that year. And again, I think these things happen less and less. Like when Nirvana put out Nevermind, oh my God, that was the record of that year. But now, when can you say there's been a record, seriously, in the past decade that's been like, that was that year? It's not, because information just moves so easily now that it's just the nature of the beast. Technology has changed. But in answer to your question, I can't figure it out. If we could, I don't know. You can't even replicate it, because like our biggest hit, The Way, that was like kids in a candy store going crazy. We weren't trying to create a monster hit. It was just such an interesting song to try to figure out. We were trying to figure out how to make the song good, and it was really a puzzle, and a very interesting puzzle.
It was very cool that you had a song in Ted Lasso in season 3.
Yeah.
Out of My Head. Did that help you guys? Like, what happens when you have a song in a massive show like Ted Lasso?
It was the lasso effect, as I call it, was pronounced and immediate. It was like our streams went from, I don't know where they were at, like 250,000 to over 1 million.
Wow.
In like a month or two.
And that song was already a hit. It was like that was already a hit, and it already had its time. That's amazing that it could be a 75% bump.
Totally. That's like huge. And it's just a lot of people had never heard it.
That's so cool.
And then you have a whole other group of people that had heard it, but forgot that, who is it? It's like, who's this band? Like, I don't remember. I remember the song, but I haven't thought about it in years.
Such a great song. That and Fire Escape I still love. I put it on mix the other night on Apple when I was playing Toad in the Hole at my house. I put it on and was listening. But ending this interview, I hear all the folklore and all the talk, and I want to play The Way because people love that song. And this will be your Ted Lasso moment, but 99X style Junior.
Yes.
No, I'm kidding. We play the song. we play it all the time. Please tell me in a very short amount of time, what is the damn story? Is this a real story about two old people who got in a car and they got lost?
It is. That's exactly the story. It's easy to find on the internet.
That's real. That's a real thing.
It is, but it isn't like, here's the critical part. It isn't like the song, the people were still missing. They weren't dead. Sadly, they died. They weren't dead when the song was completed. That's the first part. The second part is the idea of these two people just driving away and no one knows where they went was a jumping off point for the song. It wasn't really like, let's write a song all about these people. That was not it at all. What people respond to, I've had so many people come up to me and say, that's my song. Oh my God, that's my song. You guys wrote my song. And that's why that song is such a huge hit. And it doesn't matter the circumstances, right? One guy's like, me and my wife made the really tough decision to leave the town we were in. I got a new job all the way across the country. It was really scary, but they made up their minds and they started packing. Okay, that's that guy's story. Someone else, it's something, someone else lost somebody, Everyone's got a story, but that song connects with everyone.
So when you wrote the song, they were not found yet. It was that fast. You guys saw this news story, the song gets created and recorded, and then you find out the ending to the story.
I guess we found out the ending before it was recorded, but again, since the song wasn't really about the lives of these two people, it was just a jumping off point.
Got it. Okay.
Setting the record straight. Yes.
Indeed. Yeah.
It does put, when you're listening to it, and right now when you listen to it, it's interesting to paint the picture, kind of knowing the backstory. of listening to it. I think it kind of gives you the chills, Miles, just a little bit.
I mean, I there's no doubt in my mind that backstory got out there, and that became part of the intrigue. I mean, do you remember the song Roller Coaster? The Red Hot Chili Peppers re-recorded.
Yeah, Roller Coaster. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, that one. Hey, you sing good. Okay, so they re-recorded it, but the original version, somewhere in the middle of that song, you hear a scream. And the folklore became that scream was a girl being murdered in the next studio.
I remember that.
And that was going around. It was a similar thing where it's like, ooh, there's a dark side to this song. And I think, obviously, it's quite different because this is based on fact, but there's a dark side to the song. Really did inform. It really gave the song this mystique. That is, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing you Wednesday, April 17th.
City Winery.
Thank you so much. Come on out.
Absolutely. Great to talk to you again, Miles. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
It was great talking to you guys. Okay. Bye-bye.